The night the city forgot his name, Arif stood alone on the rooftop, the hum of traffic below sounding like a heartbeat he could no longer trust. His phone buzzed with another rejection email, the kind that always began politely and ended without mercy. He didn't read it. He already knew the words. Not the right fit. Not unique enough. Too ordinary. The word clung to him like a shadow, whispering that no matter how loud he dreamed, the world only heard silence. Arif had once believed talent was enough. He believed that if he worked hard, if he poured his soul into melodies written at dawn and recorded in cramped rooms, someone would notice. He moved to the city with a backpack full of lyrics and a heart full of faith, convinced that music could save him. Years later, the city had taken more than it gave. His savings were gone, his confidence cracked, and the mirror reflected a man he barely recognized. Still, every night, he climbed the stairs to the rooftop, guitar in hand, chasing a feeling he feared he had already lost. Down on the street below lived Meera, a girl who had learned to survive by lowering her expectations. She worked at a late-night cafe, wiping tables and serving strangers whose lives passed her by in fragments of conversation. Once, she had dreamed of painting murals across abandoned buildings, turning gray walls into stories. But dreams didn't pay rent, and reality had a way of trimming hope until it fit inside a paycheck. Meera told herself she was content, that ordinary was safe. Yet every time she closed the cafe at midnight, she felt a quiet ache, like something unfinished waiting to be named. Their worlds collided on a rainy night when Arif wandered into the cafe, soaked and exhausted, clutching his guitar case like a lifeline. The place was nearly empty, the soft music playing from old speakers barely competing with the rain. Meera noticed him immediately, not because he looked special, but because he looked tired in a way she recognized. She served him coffee without asking questions, and when he thanked her, his voice carried a softness that lingered longer than it should have. Over the next weeks, Arif became a regular. He sat in the same corner, scribbling lyrics on napkins, humming melodies under his breath. Meera watched him between orders, curious despite herself. One night, when the cafe was quiet, she asked him what he was writing. He hesitated, then shrugged and said it was just another song that would probably go nowhere. Meera surprised herself by saying she'd like to hear it anyway. He played softly, fingers trembling as if the song itself might break. The melody was raw and honest, speaking of failure, hope, and the quiet strength it took to keep going when no one was watching. Meera felt tears sting her eyes. In that moment, she saw not an ordinary man, but someone brave enough to feel deeply in a world that rewarded numbness. She told him the song mattered. Arif laughed bitterly and said the world didn't seem to agree. Their conversations grew longer. They talked about dreams abandoned and chances missed, about the fear of trying again. Arif admitted he was thinking of quitting music, of going back home and accepting a life that felt smaller than his heart. Meera confessed she hadn't painted in years, afraid that picking up a brush would remind her of everything she gave up. They found comfort in each other's honesty, a shared understanding that being ordinary was sometimes just another word for being unseen. The real challenge came when an opportunity finally arrived for Arif, but it didn't look like the miracle he had imagined. A small label offered him a chance to release one song, with conditions. They wanted to change his sound, smooth out the rough edges, make it more marketable. They wanted him to be less himself. Arif felt torn. This was what he had waited for, yet accepting it felt like erasing the very pain that gave his music meaning. Meera watched him struggle, the light in his eyes dimming as he weighed compromise against obscurity. She wanted to support him, but she feared losing the version of him that had inspired her to dream again. When she finally spoke, her words were simple. She said being ordinary wasn't the same as being invisible, and being different wasn't always about standing out. Sometimes it was about staying true, even when the cost was high. At the same time, Meera faced her own test. The cafe owner announced it would be closing, leaving her without a job. Panic set in, followed by an unexpected sense of freedom. With nothing left to lose, she found herself standing before a blank wall one afternoon, a borrowed set of paints at her feet. Her hands shook as she began, but with every stroke, she felt something awaken. She painted her fears, her hopes, her belief that even broken dreams could be reborn. Inspired by Meera's courage, Arif made his choice. He turned down the label's offer and decided to release his song independently, knowing it might fail. The night he uploaded it, he felt sick with doubt. He waited, refreshing the page, expecting nothing. Meera sat beside him, her paint-stained hands resting over his. She told him that no matter what happened, the song had already changed one life. Her own. The days that followed were slow and quiet. Then something unexpected happened. The song began to spread. Not because it was polished, but because it was real. People shared it, commenting about how it made them feel seen. Messages poured in from strangers who found pieces of their own stories in his words. Arif realized that ordinary pain, when spoken honestly, could become extraordinary connection. Meera's mural drew attention too. Photos of it circulated online, admired for its raw emotion. A local art collective reached out, offering her space to create more work. For the first time, she believed that her dreams weren't foolish, just delayed. On the rooftop where it all began, Arif played his song as the sun rose, the city glowing beneath him. Meera listened, smiling through tears. They understood now that being ordinary didn't mean living without purpose. It meant embracing who you are, even when the world tells you it's not enough. Their journey was never about fame or recognition. It was about choosing courage over comfort, truth over approval. The challenges they faced didn't disappear, but they no longer faced them alone. In accepting their ordinariness, they discovered something powerful. The strength to keep going, to keep creating, to believe that even the quietest voices can change the world. And in that realization, they found something far greater than extraordinary. They found themselves.